Took the Raptors nearly 6 minutes into the quarter to finally score. This was their first loss since Game 2 of the Bucks series, snapping a 5-game win streak. As the series heads to Oakland for Game 3, Kawhi says he knows it's only going to get more difficult moving forward.
Finals is not going to be easy. The only thing that matters is the four wins. Once you get it, 2 wins, 3 wins, it does not matter. Just take one game at a time and, just play through the adversity.
Antoine, we just talked about the things the Warriors did right to win this game. What did the Raptors do wrong last night? How did they lose this game?
We always talk about you don't want to beat yourself. I thought they beat themselves last night. One with the turnovers. When you got 15, 16 turnovers, you cannot turn the basketball over like that against Golden State and expect to win. I thought the fouling was really, really bad. I think when I look at, especially in that third quarter, you talk about that run. Marc Gasol had 2 offensive fouls setting screens I thought was terrible. I thought Kyle Lowry bailed himself out, took himself out the game with his fouls. It's not like it was a big foul disparity, but you got to foul in the right situations and make smart fouls against Golden State. That's beating yourself. Those are little mistakes that come back to haunt you. I thought they went away from their game plan a little bit on the offensive end as far as going through Kawhi and sharing the basketball. I thought he took it on one-on-one a few more times than I would like to see him do. I mean, obviously he went to the free throw line 16 times, but he has to come off it and trust his teammates are going to make those shots. And then they got to get production. Danny Green, Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka, and Marc Gasol have to give them some offensively consistently if they want to beat Golden State. I thought Marc Gasol played terrible. He played 31 minutes. He can't play that many minutes and not be productive. Serge Ibaka has to play a lot better. He gets 3 fouls in the first half, take himself out the game in the first half. So those are small mistakes. You don't want to beat yourself. Golden State is too good of a team to beat yourself. So I thought they did a lot of things to hurt themselves. It may not show up in the box score, but those fouls, offensive fouls are petty, and it hurts your run. You don't want to continue to give Golden State opportunities.
I thought the last 2 rounds of basketball, this is the dumbest basketball I saw Toronto Raptors play. And people talk about one of the things that makes them special, how you get to the finals. They got guys with very, very high basketball IQs. Kyle Lowry, one of the best in the league. He has not played smart as far as when he's going to foul, where he's going to foul, and the time of the game at which he's going to foul. Kyle Lowry, Siakam, and Van Fleet, they had 2 fouls in the first quarter. All of them. They get 8 total fouls in the first quarter. So that's how they started. Golden State from the free throw line. How are we going to do it? We're going to give them 10 free ones. All right, 10 made free throws in that first quarter. It gave Draymond an opportunity. It gave Steph an opportunity that they could generate some confidence offensively because no one on Golden State, well, no Boogie Cousins in the first quarter. He was just out there just when Klay Thompson was the only legitimate threat that they had. Steph was having some type of respiratory. He was having some type of issue. So at that time, they did not take advantage of it. Why didn't they take advantage of it? Because they played dumb basketball and they got themselves into foul trouble, and they put Golden State in the bonus early in the game. And those 2 fouls that all those players got later in the game, it affects your defense. Kyle Lowry fouls out of the game. It's just not. For him to be your captain, for him to be your veteran player, he really let them down last night.
And to your point, in that first quarter, other than Klay, the entire Warriors roster made 3 shots. And yet they're only down 1 after the first quarter because the other Warriors roster other than Klay was 9 of 11 from the free throw line. And it's totally true that those fouls cost you later in the game because we saw a play where Draymond took it all the way up the court, drove right around Lowry because Lowry was afraid to get a foul, and then got a dumb one to foul out of the game, slapping down at Boogie.
It's the same thing that Draymond had in game number 1 as far as Siakam. He couldn't slow him down on the fast break because he had a couple fouls and was in foul trouble.
But the other element, we've talked a lot about the 18-0 run. It ended up being, it was the biggest run in finals history since the merger. I understand that. But there was another key moment in the game, which was when Klay goes out. The Raptors went down on a 5-on-4, hit a 3. Warriors have to call timeout. Kawhi was checking in. Klay has to go out. There's 8 minutes left in the game. From that moment forward, with Klay on the bench, the Warriors' offense going to die, essentially. They had 8 points in the next 7:55 until the Iggy 3 in the final seconds. The Raptors went 3 of 16. They went 1 of 9 from 3. Kawhi went 1 of 6. Their offense, whether it was missed shots, whether it was bad shots, whether it was good defense, or a combination of all of it, that was an opportunity for Toronto where if their offense can click in, if they can hit some of those shots, if Kawhi can either do a little bit better job of getting to the rim or getting other guys open shots or getting his own open shots, something happens there. Toronto could have stolen this because the Warriors were, they were out of bodies. And Toronto, a few minutes into those final 8 minutes, went to that box and won, which clearly Golden State, they might be ready for it in game 3, but in game number 2, most of these guys probably have not gone up against box and one since when, high school?
High school, yeah.
And so there was an element of, wait, what's happening? That's how people guarded Stephen Davidson because he was the only threat on the team. And so Toronto in the fourth quarter, once Kawhi went in and Clay went out, going 3 of 16 from the field, 1 of 9 from three-point line, that was a moment they could have seized control, and they never were able to do it.
Toronto's got to look at the film and say, look, we're good enough defensively to beat this team. What are we going to do offensively to make the game a lot easier for us? How can we get some easier layups? You know, we're trying to live and die with the three-point shot if it's not going. How can we figure out, can we get Kawhi a layup? Can we get Marc Gasol an easier post-up? Because you got to get some scoring. You cannot continue to play. They played great defense to stay in the game for about 5 minutes left in that fourth quarter. They stayed in the game with great defense, but was not able to get anything easy. Ramon, you got 2 good point guards that are very good at coming off the pick and roll. You may have to change it up a little bit, maybe put those guys in the pick and roll and see if they can come off and make a play, not put so much pressure on Kawhi to have to do it every time to make a play for everybody else. Maybe use Kawhi as a decoy. That's what Golden State does very well, and that's the reason why Draymond Green gets backdoor layups. Andre Iguodala gets a backdoor layup, an open 3. They use Steph and Clay as decoys sometimes to get other guys going. So those are some of the things Toronto has to look at the film to figure out. It may not be a lot. It may be 6 to 8 points that you can get.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, so that you can get to help the team out.
I want to ask you a quick question. Mark Jackson kept harping on the point during the game. He didn't know why Toronto wasn't forcing Boogie to guard the pick and roll. And Boogie played really well and played well defensively, but that was something they didn't throw at him. Did that surprise you that they didn't see if Boogie could guard the pick and roll? Is that something with Boogie now all of a sudden having a bigger role in the series you think they'll do in game 3?
They actually did it early. He got 2 quick fouls and he picked up his third. They went away from it. That's what I mean about in the timeout. Let's say, look, we're not scoring. Let's go at the weakest link. Matchups. Let's figure out who's the weakest link for them defensively. Obviously, it's Boogie because he don't have the mobility that he had early in the season. You got to attack him. But Marc Gasol got to be better, too. That's sometimes, if he doesn't get going, you don't feel confident going to him. Didn't have his shot last night.
And in game number 1, if you look at it, Marc Gasol and Boogie Cousins, people say Gasol had a great game. Boogie Cousins, he's just getting acclimated. They only guard each other 1 time. In last night's game, they defended each other 63 times, and Gasol only scored 6 points in those exchanges. So Gasol was part of the reason why the Raptors weren't able to. Him, Siakam, Serge Ibaka, they have to be able to play better because I thought even in the limited, with Looney being hurt, the bigs outplayed Toronto, and then the backcourt, we know, outplayed Toronto's backcourt.
Wait, quick question before we go to break. The foul trouble that the Raptors got into so early and often, how much of that was just lapses in focus, and how much of it was because Nick Nurse said we want to make a concerted effort to be so physical in this game?
Well,
did that come back to haunt them?
If you're going to be that physical, then you can't commit the dumb fouls. You can't commit the fouls 80 feet from the basket. You can't try to take every single charge. Like there are elements where you know if it's going to be a high foul game because of the way you play defense, you got to be extra judicious with your plays that aren't critical, that are far from the basket. The Marc Gasol moving screens are a great example. Those are empty possessions. Those are fouls. That's
why they took him out of the pick and roll, though. He's not as consistent in the pick and roll. That's why you couldn't utilize Boogie. So I wouldn't call it bad coaching because Toronto's been a physical team all year, and they changed the series in game number 3 in the conference final against Milwaukee by being physical. Nick Nurse teaches good defense but don't reach. It's those ticky-tack reaching fouls that have hurt the Raptors.
All right, Antoine, we'll see you a little bit later on in the show. Coming up, would the Warriors be making a mistake rushing KD back for game 3? Next on First Things First.